almost as good as the Odyssey and the Iliad, even though it's written in a stage play format.
Mm-hmm.
But, the Women of Troy, basically, it takes place after the Iliad, where the women of Troy are captured on an island, and they're basically being given to the soldiers of the winners. And they're having to deal with their new lot in life as slaves. And it's interesting because Hector's wife is really the main character of the story, and she's like the unofficial leader of the women in this story. And one thing that I thought was interesting, I saw it up in Cedar Rapids, and I saw the play, and I talked with the director afterwards about the play, that the value that she was reading into the play of our modern day society are quite different than the values of the Athenians who wrote it, over 2 millenniums ago. And in the play, she saw the play as a statement about war crimes, about the abuses of power by the winners. But it was actually, the play, she thought it was an anti-war play. This was a pro-war play, actually. This is what most people don't understand, because they read our modern values into it. They believe that might makes right. And the message of the play wasn't that how horrible it is so much to be a victim once you've been conquered. The message is you want to be the one doing the conquering. That was the message of the play. And modern audiences who see it tend to misread, what this play was really saying and what it was really about. And I thought that was interesting because I talked to the director afterwards, and she was actually kind of impressed that I would know this, but also kind of surprised at the same time too. But to me, it's such an interesting play because Hector's wife is telling them, okay, we're being basically given to these soldiers to be married to them, but we're going to turn the tables on them. And this is how they're going to turn the tables on them, because once they're married to them, they are obligated financially and responsibly to provide for themselves and their children. You see what I'm saying? So she said, we are their slaves, but we are going to make them our slaves. We are going to make them pay through the nose for our kids' college, for our kids' school, for our books, food, shoes, everything else. So, they think they're winning now, but in the end, they're going to have to pay to support us. And I thought that was an interesting idea. There's a lot of truth to that. The whole idea of in a marriage, you're actually really kind of a partner, whether you like it or not, with that other person.
Okay, and your top recommendation, the Bible. That's up for lots of interpretations and all this and that.
Even if you don't believe in God,
whatever,
even if you're
let's
not
just
religious.
throw out all the religious, whatever you'd say, misconceptions or conceptions or whatever. Just tell the folks out there. Why did you recommend the Bible as
number one?
As the number one book on your list? Just give us a quick overview.
Well, I think it's a very good thermometer of showing this is the book that basically based our worldview in the West of how we view what is right and wrong. And it also is a good window into seeing what we were like thousands of years ago as well, as a people. And I think there's a lot of wisdom to the Bible. It's interesting if you saw 3:10 to Yuma, where Russell Crowe plays Ben Wade, the bad guy, and he kills one of his gang members who screwed up, and he says, and one of the guys says, we had to say goodbye to Charlie today, and that's too bad. And Russell Crowe says, Proverbs 13:3, he who keepeth his tongue keepeth his life. He who opens his mouth too wide can bring about his own destruction. Charlie was weak. Charlie was stupid. Charlie is dead. He's basically saying, you better shut your mouth before I kill you as well. And it's interesting because that usually they don't bring in quotes from the Bible into movies anymore. Yeah, and with the exception of Cape Fear and 3:10 to Yuma, in the last 20 years, I can think of almost no other films that have done that at all. Even though in the 50s it was very popular. You see what I'm saying? And it's a different time, but the thing to me is that there is a wisdom to the Bible. You can learn from it like that. That is not a minor lesson to learn. That a lot of times you need to bite your tongue and keep your mouth shut in order to save yourself a lot of aggravation and even your own demise.
So that was just a quick overview of some of the literature. Maybe you want to check out.
We could talk. I mean, people could debate the Bible for millenniums, and they have, So we're trying to keep this short here,
Yeah, we're trying to get to your passion, which is movies, science fiction movies, but just movies in general. Yeah. And we're going to take. I think Doug showed us the card over there. We got another half an hour, so we want to make sure we get in plenty of the movies talking about that.
Shall we start out with a documentary I saw recently called Life After Tomorrow?
Sure, yeah. Before we went on the air, you had mentioned something about this documentary. It was the original of Annie, the original Broadway cast, and you wanted to mention about, I'm not going to wax poetic. You go ahead and take this one over.
Well, to me, I actually rented it on Netflix. It looked interesting to me, mildly interesting. But when I saw it, I actually loved it. It was one of the best movies, or at least I should say one of my personal favorite that struck a chord with me that I'd seen in years. And, it's such an interesting idea. These girls are the part of Annie when they're like 8 years old. This is not a small deal for an 8-year-old, You're Annie on Broadway, You're a celebrity, you're a star, you're a hero, and you're performing for these adults. People are sucking up to you, they love you, you're great, and this is a wonderful experience. And then you're 10, and it's over. You're 10 years old. These girls, they were 10 years old, and they're being told washed up has-beens. And they're like, but I'm 10. My life can't be over. They're telling me your life's over. Forget it. You're through. You're done. You're finished. They rip the Annie costume off them. They put it on an 8-year-old one day, and they just tell them you're fired. You're a has-been. You're washed up. I mean, you're being told you're a washed up has-been at 10? To me, I like extremes, and Kurosawa played with this idea of extremes, and that's an extreme thing to go through, particularly when you're a little kid, from being a celebrity to being a nobody, one day, and told we want nothing more to do with you,